This is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings and all things Chicago Blackhawks. With your hosts, Jordan Linscott, David Barnhouse, Nick LePage, and Tim Stompanato. This is the Stick Blade Podcast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to another edition of the Stick Blade Podcast. It is your place for all things Detroit Red Wings, all things Chicago Blackhawks, and general news around the NHL. It's another night, another episode, another week in the NHL is down in the books, another one up and coming. On this week's podcast, we're going to, of course, do the flash forward and flashback for the teams this past week and then this upcoming week. We've got a couple pieces of Wings news and Hawks news to talk about, including Anthony Mantha's benching for the Detroit Red Wings, the return of Filip Zadina and Robby Fabbri, how the team sort of looked when they've come back, and then also the fact that Givani Smith, again, just making a case for himself to stay on this team long term. And then on the Hawks side of the podcast for topics, we're going to be talking Jeremy Colliton's coaching, just how it's looked so far with the season, and a certain co-host of ours is going to be eating his own words. We're also going to be talking about just how this team sort of looked against some of the better caliber teams in the league, just sort of finding their identity, what they're about, how their play style is going to fit. And then also the fact that Adam Boqvist is officially off COVID protocols. What could that mean for the team or his development, or even just what the schedule for him in terms of his development path looks like? So that's sort of going to be our show for the night. For your host, Jordan Linscott, and for my co-hosts, Tim Stompanato, David Barnhouse, and Nick LePage. Everybody, welcome to the Stick Blade Podcast. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Good. You know, bummed out that my Kansas City Chiefs lost, but what are you going to do? I'd say it was an exciting game, but I can't.
You'd be lying.
If
that'd be a lie.
That the only points the Chiefs would have were from field goals, I would have laughed you out of the room.
Butker was the MVP of the Chiefs, no doubt. I mean, he made a 52-yarder or something in the 40s. Like, he God bless him.
Yep.
Yeah, congrats to Tom Brady for winning another Super Bowl.
Imagine if that falling throw that Mahomes threw like 30 perfect spiral yards. If someone had caught that, people would be talking about that for ages. But
Sports Center would be having a field day. They love him.
Patrick Mahomes can throw a football in terrible falling conditions than most people can in perfect conditions.
He's an artist in the craft. There's a way that he, like, even during the Super Bowl when everything was falling apart around him, he was still scrambling and being like, okay, I clearly don't have time. What am I going to do? Trying to make those plays, like forcing things that any other quarterback wouldn't even dream of trying to do. I give him a lot of credit.
Speaking of scrambling, Nick, I already told the guys this, but Next Gen Stats, who like keep track of like all sorts of stats, said that Patrick Mahomes, with all of his scrambles trying to run around, ran 500 yards last night during all those scrambles.
Yeah, there's a reason why he couldn't really get much going, because he was so damn tired. Man, he had no time. But like, I tried to do that little Mahomes throw that he did in the Super Bowl, and I ended up hurting myself today, boys. So that clearly shows how athletic you have to be to kind of do that. I'm not quite there anymore. I'm not peak athlete, Nick. But as for me, guys, it's good until, and the Bears inevitably trade for Carson Wentz. So here we are. I'm a happy man with the Hawks this week, and I'm thrilled to talk about them tonight.
Just gotta say one last thing about it all. The 2010s were the age of the Tim Tebow jump throw. Now the 2020s are going to be the age of the Patrick Mahomes Superman throw.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go way different way when you said Tim Tebow and then 2020, but I'm glad you did it. So let's go.
Wait, he's still alive, right? Yeah, he's good.
All right. Well, this is a hockey podcast, so let's go ahead and just get into the hockey.
Gotta start with some football.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously this is the Wings and Blackhawks podcast. So these are the teams that we're covering. The Wings had a really interesting week this week, a lot more of a roster-altering week, and really like a play-altering week this week than the Blackhawks did. So I kind of want to talk on the Wings first, then we can transfer over to the Blackhawks side this week.
Yep.
So we touched on this, what was it? Was it last week or the week before? But Anthony Mantha, a couple weeks ago, basically got taken out of the game for the entire third period because whether it's lack of hustle, lack of drive, whatever you want to call it, Mantha was not playing up to snuff.
No.
Jeff Blashill effectively benched Anthony Mantha for an entire game. Now, if you'd have told me 2 years ago that Jeff Blashill was going to bench Anthony Mantha for a game and that I was going to be happy about it, I would have said you're crazy. But
Me too.
I can't lie. Like, I'm glad to see this from Blashill. I'm not happy that Mantha got benched, but I'm glad to see that Blashill's looking at players and saying, I don't care if you're making almost $6 million a year. If you're not playing up to snuff, you're not on the ice.
Exactly. Here's the thing. Benching him, great idea. Like a couple years ago, we thought it would be crazy, but with his play that we talked about, how he's just has no hustle, no pep in his step, whatever you want to call it. He's a power forward. The guy's what, 6'5"?
Yeah, he's a big man.
Yeah.
And he can't even lay a hit. Givani Smith is the better power forward. Like he's doing the job of what a power forward should be doing. And Anthony Mantha is doing the job of a Jonathan Ericsson, doing nothing with that big body of his. And the fact that we benched him and someone was able to step in and step up the way he did, and we'll get into him in a little bit, is going to put a little fire, hopefully fire, under Mantha to say, hey, you're good, but right now someone's gunning for your spot. So you got to prove it. Prove that you want to be here. Prove that you want to be in the spot that we want you in.
I have a little I know it's maybe jumping the gun, but are we sure that he's going to be part of this long term? Like,
I don't know.
I mean,
It
up
seems
until recently, right?
Yeah. Like he was a lot. Like, all right, you thought Mantha, like, yeah, he's here for.
And the bad thing is, with the way his play has gone, does his trade stock drop?
I mean, no, I think it's hard to do that because like Yzerman's not dumb. You don't trade a guy when he's at the most. But I mean, it's all speculation right now if he's going to be long term. But like, Yzerman wouldn't trade a guy at his minimum right now.
Is he a GameStop stock, or is he,
or is he the AMC I invested that just keeps going down? Well, I mean, look at what Pierre-Luc Dubois netted for Columbus. And that's a similar thing of strong power forward that seems to have some issues with consistency, specifically in motor and work ethic, takes some games off. It seems like we've got a similar situation in Mantha. My question is, and again, I didn't really pay too much attention to the Red Wings in a couple years past. Does he have a history of inconsistent effort, or is this maybe something tied to you got the contract and now you're able to breathe a little bit? I know people complained about Saad a little bit for that in the past. Is there something like that?
I mean, from my end, I never really saw issues with him in the past. He's always been that strong power forward that, is going to average maybe 20, 25 goals a season, and he'll have those moments of a 30, 40 goal season. But this to me is new. This is to me is like what you said. Maybe it's a contract type thing. I don't know. Jordan, what do you think?
I mean, when Anthony Mantha first came into the league, basically the Red Wings stapled him to Henrik Zetterberg. They said, like, you two are playing as a unit. And when Mantha came in, he was not this phenomenal goal scorer that we saw last season. He was kind of streaky, but not streaky because he wasn't trying. It was more just streaky because he was still adjusting to the NHL, the speed of everything, and just like really getting that skill set down. Last year, phenomenal player. I don't think any of us would say that he was not a good player last season. And you ask anybody who watches the Red Wings, if you ask, what does the potential core of this forward look like? Everybody says Anthony Mantha is part of that.
Yep.
And even this season, like, again, I think I talked about this last time when we talked about him, but my problem with Mantha isn't that he's not getting goals and assists this season like he was last season. My problem with Mantha is the effort at this point. People are like, well, Tyler Bertuzzi is a streaky goal scorer and like a streaky guy as well. But Tyler Bertuzzi brings it almost every shift he's out on the ice. He's always doing the little things right to get into the right spots or to get pucks out of like the scrum to set up players. And that's what I think the big difference is between Bertuzzi and Mantha being streaky is Bertuzzi, even when he's streaky, is doing the right things to help generate chances. This season, Mantha has just looked like he doesn't care.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Mantha, I would not be mad if he wasn't scoring goals or getting assists, if he was like putting in the effort, trying and fighting for things. But there's no effort. Like we saw in the game last week where he was just giving the puck away and it led to goals. And Bertuzzi's streaky. Bertuzzi may go a couple games without a goal, a couple games without an assist, but just, like the missing teeth in his mouth, he puts in the work. He's, fighting for every puck, fighting for everything, trying to get in there and smiling about it. Well, as much as he can smile about it. I love little Bert, and like you're saying, when people talk about the core of this team, I think a lot of people exclude Bert and add Mantha, but right now I see Bert more as the core player for the future to build around. And I've thought that for the last couple of years. Like I saw him score the hat trick in Minnesota, and as my friend, like I've always loved Bert. And when people say, "Oh, we could, get this player in a trade and trade away Bert with him," I'm like, no, don't trade Bert.
Oh, Bertuzzi's like an anomaly type of player too. He's just a weird breed where it's like he's this grinder. He's basically a grinder, but like he's just so skilled too. Like he has the ability to pot goals. He's a great playmaker with it, and he's physical. He's like a Tom Wilson, like a different version of Tom Wilson.
Yeah, there's some Wilsons, a little T'Chuk kind of vibes to him.
He gets the grinding from his uncle Todd, and then he's got the other skills from wherever else. Like he's a great balance of a grinder and a shooter. Like he has the hands to do things, but he also has the hands to throw it down with you too,
which is a phenomenal that's a piece of the core that you need. I love that.
I mean, kind of to use an analogy, I kind of would liken it to Tyler Bertuzzi is a Swiss Army knife and Anthony Mantha is a longsword. Two completely different uses, but I don't know. For me, it's just even like when I talked about this when we were recapping the Wings and Hawks game. Mantha had that terrible turnover, and then even when Detroit was on the power play, there were moments where he was literally just parked on a power play.
Yep.
I don't know if this benching is to send a message to him or if it's one of those things where he just is. He's given this game off, or even maybe the next couple of games off, to say like, "Hey, get your head back in the game," like, because if you're not going to work for it, we have other people who will. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely a wake-up call, so hopefully he gets it.
I mean, he didn't get it really when he got benched for an entire third period. Yes, he had a couple goals recently, but he's still not showing the player we know he should be. That's the issue.
Right. The goals almost mask the inconsistent lack of effort, which is concerning. Now, Jordan, I've got a big question that you've brought up now. You've opened up quite the can. If Mantha is a longsword and Bertuzzi is a Swiss Army knife, what kind of blade is Larkin? This is important to me.
Darth Maul with a lightsaber.
I mean, I would consider if you're using the sword analogy, I would probably say like Larkin's a short sword. Basically, he can attack, he can defend, but he's not gonna get you a whole bunch of like heavy hits. But he's also going to be able to control you in certain situations.
That was an excellent answer. All right, thank you. That was in my head. Back
to a point you had, Tim, where you said like the goals masking things. A normal person, if they're just looking at the box score, if someone just has like the Yahoo Sports app and they go to the box score, oh, Mantha scored in this game or he scored in that game. He's back. He's good. He's fine. But if you sit down and just watch him on the ice, if we just get a camera on him, you can see it's not the same thing.
He's been phoning it. Yeah. I've been paying more attention to that since we talked about it on here. And it's like he takes off shifts. And you can't, when you're in the position that the Red Wings are in, which is something the Hawks are doing really, really well, you can't take a shift off. You don't have that luxury.
Yeah, you are replaceable.
Yeah, I mean, you're not Tampa Bay where you just skate the regular season by and then show up in the postseason. Like, you can't do that.
I mean, that's what the Hawks used to do when they were in the dynasty years was, well, we don't really take the regular season seriously. That's the warm-up.
Starts.
Yeah, but like when you're a team in the rebuild like we are, you need to show your worth. Otherwise, you will not be a part of the build to the future.
Well, and it goes back to he's a part of that core and that leadership. He has a responsibility to the team to set the tone, to be the person when he walks in the door that says, this is how we're going to be as a team. And if he, as one of the stars of that team, isn't doing it, that's a serious trickle down effect that affects the younger guys in the locker room. You can't have that.
Yep.
And like, that's one of the things that I think is really weird about this situation. I mean, we'll kind of talk about it in a minute on the flashback, but the Red Wings played some of the best hockey they've played this season, and they played it without Mantha.
Yep.
I don't know what to say to that.
Well,
there's only one thing to say. It shows he's replaceable.
Yep. Bingo. Hit the nail on the head. Because the guy that we replaced him with that came up and showed his worth immensely was the guy we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. And the guy we talked about even before that, Givani Smith.
What a transition.
That was smooth.
Oh my God.
So Givani Smith, I've been high on this kid ever since we drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
This kid, in all the ways that Mantha has not been working, Givani Smith's been working his ass off to stay on this club.
Yes, he has.
Fantastic physical presence on the ice. Back checks yes, he's not the most amazing skater. He's a big man. He's not going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But his presence on the ice is noticeable. And I love the fact that the Wings are pairing him with Larkin. I like that a lot.
Larkin will help him improve those skating and shooting things he needs to still work on.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said earlier, he is doing the job that Mantha should be doing, that power forward job where he's back checking, he's front check, he's doing everything. He knows where to be. He gets in the right position. Like, he had a good assist a couple weeks ago to somebody. I forget who. I think it was Larkin.
Yeah,
he sprung on a breakaway.
Yeah. He had a Gordie Howe hat trick. Everybody loves a good old Gordie Howe hat trick.
Oh, yeah.
That fight,
It's my
that
favorite hat
fight
trick.
was so one-sided. He was just pummeling that guy. Just pummeling.
I mean, not even just that one though. Like, there's the play where him and Larkin were skating down towards the opposing goal, and the puck starts to get stripped away. And so, sure enough, like, he grabs it and he heads to the right, creates space towards the left side for Larkin to get open. He curves around as like a look, almost like a no look, like backhand pass to Larkin. Larkin just nets it easy. That's awesome to see from a young player who really hasn't been having much chance to get reps at the NHL until this season.
Yeah, like you said, like when we drafted him, I liked him. I'm like, okay, I like the tape I see of him. And then when we heard about like all the racial abuse he was going through the minor league team he's playing for, that just made me even more on his side, that he was able to just keep pushing ahead, didn't let it get to him. And he's just been working hard to get to where he is now. And seeing him in the winged wheel, just, it makes me so happy to see him finally wearing that jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean,
actually working in it.
And if he keeps up his play like this, I mean, there's no reason why he won't be a mainstay in Detroit for the next couple of years. If he continues to produce like this, or even just play like this, he doesn't even necessarily have to get goals and assists all the time.
Yeah. My dream for him and for the future is that we can create a new, I say this group all the time because I love this group. If we can make a new Draper, Maltby, Cleary line and have, Glendening as our Draper, because he's that face-off man, and have him fill in the role of one of the other two guys. Just, we got to find that third piece and make those guys all together.
Yeah, but Givani Smith really, at least these past couple of games since he's been up, he's shown that he's at least got the ability to hang with this club as like a future piece.
For sure.
And we've been looking at, how the Wings have been handling the taxi squad situation. I can't imagine that they're going to keep him on it. At this point, it's got to be just like a paper move type thing where it's saving like actual physical dollars and cents. I mean, you can't look at the last game that he played and say, yeah, he doesn't really belong here.
Well,
It's going to turn Nielsen away.
It seems like a combination of dollars and cents and the fact that he can pass through waivers still, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes.
he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put some of those other guys like Nielsen on there, they're going to have to go through waivers.
That's fine. That's fine. That's perfect.
No, for us, yeah. but that dollars and cents move and the ease of waivers that they can send him up and down really without even worrying about it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me based on the fact that he's been playing phenomenally and shows he belongs there.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to a guy on like a two-way contract, it's really hard to look too deep into the whole like being assigned back to the taxi squad, and because we've seen it before where they're called up they're in the lineup the next day, they're in the next game. So it's just I think it's just all precautionary and more of like a paper transaction than it is really something to dive into. But yeah, I mean, still though, you want to see him on the roster just because he's been playing so damn well. So.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of other players who've been playing really well,
I was literally just gonna say that.
There's this kid who Detroit drafted 6th overall a couple of years ago. His name's Filip Zadina. He's been pretty good, and Robby Fabbri. So both of those guys are both back in the lineup from the COVID protocols that they were on. Zadina did not miss a beat in the 2 weeks that he was off. He did not miss a beat.
No, he did not. I'm so happy to have Zad back. The Zad connection. Those two work so well together. And like I jumped the gun on Zadina's first game back where I was like, oh, guys, he's already back and he scored because I guess Nemestikov redirected it. But it's just showing he's back. And like you said, hasn't missed a beat.
That changes your whole team caliber so much by getting those two guys back in the lineup. That shifts everybody and allows you to have those top two lines, and then everyone that was up trying to fill in holes. Now you've got depth again.
Yes,
and as you could see it, especially in that last game, they're a huge impact on this roster.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy losing 2 top 6 guys. Like that affects you guys big time. And now, the lines are kind of getting situated back to normal again. And,
we took a beating on Florida last game, so that was nice to see happen. And I remember I sent you guys a little text thing that was what was it? A goalie besides Bernier hasn't won for the Wings in like 4 or something days.
Yeah.
We broke it.
That's crazy.
We broke it, baby.
You love to see it.
One thing I've really liked out of Zadina, just even this season, I've really liked his stick handling and like his puck movement. And I've also liked his setup game a lot. When he got drafted, a lot of people were like, he's going to be a one-dimensional sniper who you just sort of park in the slot and you expect the occasional like assist. He's turned into a great two-way player.
Yeah, I remember, Jordan, you and I talked about that last year, like how his defensive play was better than some of the other players that were even defensive players drafted last
better
year.
Than Quinn Hughes' even. Like, we looked at some of the advanced stats and his defensive stats were better than Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is probably one of the best defensemen from that draft that we've seen so far.
And that was back when we first looked at it. It's probably different now, but
and again, Robby Fabbri, surprise pickup last year, has stayed a top 6 guy for us. Again, that's a depth piece that we need during a rebuild like this. Is Robby Fabbri going to be a long-term player in Detroit where he's here when we're out of the rebuild? That I don't know. But at least during this rebuild, it's nice to win games every once in a while.
Yes, right. It is. That feels good.
Baby victories. That's all. This is the season of it.
Unless you're Ottawa. For some reason, Ottawa can't buy a win to save their life.
Have they won since our last recording? Because I know that's how I started off last week.
I think they took 1 because they were 9-1, and I think they're 2, and then they've lost everything else.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. So much for that playoff prediction.
Yeah. It's always nice to know that no matter how bad your team is doing, there's still always Ottawa.
Yeah, they've won another game recently.
God bless them.
Ottawa's there.
It's like that scene from Moneyball where Brad Pitt is like, discussing the structure of the MLB. At the top, you have the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Dallas Stars, and then you have about 30 feet of other teams. And then at the bottom, you have the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially how it is.
Oh, God.
We can move on to the Blackhawks, though, because you guys had a couple pieces of interesting news this week as well. The ones we'll save the word eating for the last, because I want to
Yeah,
savor
that's
that
fine.
for a minute.
That's
Oh yeah, let it
Um,
marinate.
So the first
Stews.
piece of news I want to talk about: Adam Boqvist is back officially from the COVID protocols. Um, Basically, he's been off for a couple of days now as well. He's had a break from playing. With word of the AHL season coming back, and how the Hawks have really been looking without him. Tim and Nick, do you think that Chicago tries to make room for him on this roster right now? Or do you think that they send him back to Rockford and say, we'd rather have you down here playing top 4 minutes and getting confidence, getting better adjusted to, the NHL play, and just sort of developing more? Because, I think you can kind of look at these first round picks, and a lot of people say, well, you want to get them NHL reps immediately, but a lot of superstars don't come to the NHL immediately.
Mhm.
Duncan Keith, a perfect example for you guys. He spent, 2 years with Kelowna. He spent a year at MSU. He wasn't an immediate anchor on your guys' blue line.
Well, even more recently, you've got Miro Heiskanen with Dallas that spent his first year wherever he was. I don't remember if he was overseas or in the AHL, but it took him a year. And then when he came up, he was a more complete player and he hit the ground running. Boqvist right now, I'm high on Boqvist. I'm a big Boqvist fan. I need to reiterate that. But I think right now, comparing his play, has he gotten more confident? Has he been making better plays? Yes. There is still a hesitancy and he shies away from things a little bit sometimes. We're not seeing that with Mitchell and Beaudin. We're seeing a poise and a confidence with both of them that I think when you have that poise and confidence, it translates to those NHL reps and makes those NHL reps important. When you don't have that confidence, I think that those NHL reps can do more damage if you don't have that confidence there. Put him in Rockford for a little bit, let him play consistent minutes. I mean, we had a phenomenal first game for the Ice Hogs. Wyatt Kalynuk looked incredible and played like 25 minutes. Put him down there with him. Let them grow together. I mean, they could be a 1-2 punch in the future. Who knows? I don't want to see Mitchell and Beaudin lose more time right now when they're eating up those minutes and adapting and adjusting to try and force Boqvist in when we rushed him up last year because of injuries. There's no need to rush him. I don't know. What do you think, Nick?
No, I'm on the same boat. I think Rockford honestly is the best option for Adam Boqvist right now. It's kind of hard from him. You got to feel for Boqvist for a little bit right now because he's had so much expectations of being this top, like future power play quarterback and future number 1 D-man of the Hawks maybe. And now it's just, and he's still young. He's 20 years old. It's hard for Stan too, because obviously his seat gets hotter and hotter as the years go by, but so he wants to show some kinds of progression in this rebuild that we're in. So yeah, he wants to, but I think honestly, Boqvist, he's not, I mean, you could argue Zadorov because he's been iffy, but he's not a top 7 D-man on this roster currently. Beaudin has impressed majorly. And
he's blown me away with his style of play. Again, he's not Duncan Keith, but he's calm and making smart decisions and playing smart and playing well every time he's on the ice. I'm not worried when he's on the ice.
Yeah, and I think that's a good example to look at. Those 2 guys were drafted the same year. Beaudin was a later first-round pick. Boqvist was picked at, what was it, 7, 8?
Yep.
No,
7 or 8.
It was like 7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and now Beaudin got the development that he needed because he was able to stay down in Rockford in college. And so now, Boqvist might need some, seasoning still. He's a young kid. He really had a different developmental growth and, or the lack thereof, I guess. But, you see what Beaudin's learned in Rockford. And I think Boqvist going down there playing big time minutes, gaining that confidence because we all know the skill is there, but I think
yeah.
it's all mental right now.
Yeah.
No, so one thing I kind of want to ask you guys is, so Chicago's basically got, I would say probably three-ish, probably three like defensive, I want to say prospects or players that you're sort of looking to be potential long-term pieces for you after this quote unquote rebuild's over. Obviously, not all of them are going to be sticking around, or if they do stick around, they're not going to be around forever after this rebuild's over. That's just the nature of rebuilds. Eventually, once you go out of them, you have success, and then players start moving elsewhere. Either it's for cap dollars or just chances to win with another team, however it happens.
Mm-hmm.
In your guys' scenario, do you look at this group of 3 to 4 guys that you're looking at and say, we want to keep the group as it is right now in terms of like where guys are at, and say we're going to facilitate growth for, like, we'll say Boqvist and Mitchell, for example. We want their growth to happen at these levels and these spots right now, because later on down the road, we're going to start sliding guys up and potentially filling down? Or do you just look at it and say, whoever earns the spot just gets it?
I'm on track for whatever's best for the team is best for the team. If you may have ties to a guy like Boqvist, and if it's years and years go by and it's just like he's not it, you got to move on.
I think that it's reckless to say these are the 2 or 3 guys that we're going to really invest in, and the other guys, let's let the chips fall where they lie. I think right now we're seeing, if it weren't for injuries and COVID and whatnot, Bodan would still be playing in Rockford. Wyatt Kalynuk wouldn't get any of the looks that we've seen from him so far. Lucas Carlson would still be down there. I think any of these guys realistically has a shot to say, hey, maybe I'm not the number 1 defenseman on your team, but the top 4, I think that's realistic. And we have to figure out, okay, Boqvist's ceiling is a top 2 offensive defenseman. I know he compared his game to Erik Karlsson back in the day. Hopefully it's lasts longer and is more consistent than Erik Karlsson, but that high-powered offense, smooth skating and whatnot. But realistic, his floor could be third pairing offensive defenseman like Gustafsson was, where he really should be sheltered and quarterback the power play. We have no idea right now. These kids are all so young and they're all developing at different speeds. I think realistically, you got to just, I love what Colliton's doing right now, where he's basically said, yeah, we're going to keep shifting around defensive pairings like we've been shifting around already out of necessity. And I think putting guys in different spots and different minutes and different, playing with different defensemen that have different styles, all of these changes and all of these tactical choices we're making are cultivating their development. I think we got to keep doing that and see what this whole year, the theme has been, what do we got? And I think we got to stick with seeing what we've got.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it on the head. Cause like every prospect has a different timetable, or they don't even have a timetable that they know of. Yeah. It sometimes just happens out of nowhere. Like these guys just pop off out of nowhere. And, you mentioned Wyatt Kalynuk, Lucas Carlson, and then obviously we know Boqvist, Mitchell, Bodan. But there's also guys like Alec Regula, who is looks like he. Name. Yeah, it is a familiar name for you Red Wings fans. But it's clear that the Blackhawks prepared for Boqvist and Ian Mitchell, because we got Regula, who played with Boqvist in London. And then a guy we acquired on the Vegas trade, Slava Demon, with Robin Leonard. He's been getting a lot of talk recently on Twitter with some Blackhawks beat reporters, and his name's floating around there in with the college hockey universe. So, it's interesting. It's interesting because like we don't have to be stapled to, because like we got Lucas Carlson came out of nowhere. And he's a fine player. He's a very fine player, and so. Like, there's no reason to be stapled to these guys. You invested a lot in.
Okay. I mean, ideally,
Ideally, they work.
Frankly, ideally, you've got different tiers and different like phases of guys' windows. So you can bring a couple guys up that are ready now or ready next year. And then a couple guys that are still cooking a little bit and maturing. And then in 2 years' time, you're able to bring them up. Alex Vlasic is another name that we've got. He's 6'6", 200 pounds. He's like 18 or 19 years old. He's a behemoth. And he's off to a great start at BU. He scored a goal the other day, which is great because they didn't really expect him to be an offensive guy. That's a guy that 3 years down the line, we might see up. If we can stagger some of those windows or some of those timelines, that helps with contracts, and that helps maybe phase out some of the, I like DeHaan a lot, but I think that sooner or later, especially if one of our left-handed guys really, like if Beaudin hits the ground running and shows this year he can really hang, maybe you keep Zadorov and Beaudin and you trade DeHaan, who's more expensive, a little older, has the injury concerns. I like the guy, but you look at the youth and say, what do we have? If we can slowly phase some guys in, that helps with our whole structure. You know, Nick, you made a good point about how Stan Bowman and management, you know, their hot seats. It's like you need all of these picks to hit, and you need these picks to hit as soon as possible. And okay, hey, we've got some injuries. I know Boqvist isn't really doing that great right now in Rockford. Let's bring him up because it's time for the youth movement. Yeah. Sometimes we rush things, and I think every club does this.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you feel the pressure, and it might not be most conducive for the player. So I love Boqvist's style of play. I love his personality. I think he's a great guy to have on this team, but I don't think that he should get any preferential forced, you know, line minutes or forced time over anybody else.
Yeah.
100%.
Speaking of just sort of like what your group is looking like, even just not even from the background, the forward group as well. You guys have sort of been finding your identity this past week, even really past 2 weeks for that matter. Just the kids are taking over. I mean,
the kids are
all
on
it.
New kids on the block, baby.
It's the first I've felt since since Panarin left, because the 2016, 2017 team still had that same feel of like 2015, where it's okay, we know who we are. We're the Blackhawks, the mighty Blackhawks. This team now, like you hear DeBrincat saying, you know what, maybe we're not going to beat them with skill. Maybe we're not the most skilled team in the world, but we're going to out hustle them. That's unheard of compared to the old mindset of, well, we're better. We're going to outskill them. We're faster. You know, everyone that's talking about this team, whether it's Subban's interview after the last game, hearing Kane talk about the buy-in, I think that's really exciting to me, is that Kane's like, oh yeah, it's really cool to see how much everyone's hustling. Nobody takes a night off. You really got to give a lot of respect to Colliton and the buy. Everybody's bought in. And it's this mindset of, we are an energy team. We're a hustle team. We are going to outwork any team that comes against us. And that is a very new concept for the Hawks and a very new identity, but it's the first time there's been a solid identity.
I mean, you nailed it on the head, Tim. Do you guys just want me to get into it?
I'm so excited for this.
Folks, get your popcorn ready.
As
Nick
show.
Gets the notepad.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you guys have known in the past, I've had said some very unfair things and maybe wrongful and jumped to accusations on a said coach, Jeremy Colliton. And I, Nick LePage, am here tonight to formally apologize to Jeremy Colliton. There's nothing on this paper. But anyways.
You're so brave.
No,
So
I mean,
So brave.
guys, I got to give credit to his due. I mean, it's sincere. Like, Jeremy Colliton has done a fantastic job. We're going to go more into detail with the games in the further segment, but the effort, I know I talked about the Hawks' effort last week and how they just are pain in the ass to play against. Like, it just continues to show this team doesn't quit. Like, the mentality of like these young guys like Kershak, Pius Suter, what you call it? Then you go with the veterans like Kane, DeBrincat. Yeah, veteran, but it's just like the guys that come in every night. They come in like we thought this was a throwaway year, and these guys are like, no, we're not throwing away a year of our career. And that's kind of what I think we were kind of talking about, like maybe joking about it, where it's like, yeah, you know what, these guys are gonna be pissed. Like everybody's writing them off, and this looks like they actually might be doing that. Like Colliton, I don't know what he says to the guys in the locker room specifically, but whatever he's doing, it's working. Just because like this team battles against playoff teams, this team battles, and like they're winning games that they should win, and then they're staying in games you thought they'd have no chance. Again, besides Tampa Bay, there's never been a bad game this year. Like there's never been a bad game. Like sure, there's been things that go wrong, but they stay in it. It doesn't matter if it's high scoring or if it's a tough defensive battle. This team just battles, works their ass off, and unreal. I mean, shout out to Jeremy Colliton for, keeping these guys going and, making me say words I thought I'd never say.
I figured it out. It's not that you said that he must be saying something to him in the locker room that's getting them hyped up and ready to go. He's not saying something. Nick, I just did some detective work with my brain here. What were you so excited about before the show started?
Chocolate
you had
milk.
to go get. Yeah. He's giving them chocolate milk because they're a bunch of kids.
That seems like a recipe for disaster.
That's why I busted out chocolate milk.
I'm going to fill you full of milk, and then I'm going to have you bag skate, basically.
Milk was a bad choice.
No, but after the first Dallas game, I think it was the first Dallas game, they're interviewing Colliton, asking like, hey, do you think this is a real statement game for you guys? And he goes, it's not a statement. This is who we are. And it's just one of those, he talked about, of course we've got a chip on his shoulder. We all know what was said about us, but this is who we are. And we just got to keep doing it every game. We just got to do it again Sunday. And they did it again Sunday. They took 3 out of 4 possible points against Dallas, which they shouldn't have done. Well, we'll talk about all that with the backflash or whatever it's called. The backflash,
the flashback.
Yeah, I get a little jumbled sometimes. My daily jumble, but
that's how my brain works too.
Just listening to I think that there's nobody on this team that embodies what this team is right now better than Hagel.
Yeah, no, Hagel's like, is Hagel like? I know it's often said is, I don't know. Never mind. I was going to say something stupid.
Hagel's bagels.
Bagels. But he's got that motor. And he just that's a guy that he hasn't scored a goal yet. We talked about Mantha earlier and how he can score the goals. And there's a difference between being streaky and being inconsistent. Hagel is doing everything right. Mm-hmm. He is hustling. He's getting breakaway. He's forcing turnovers. He's doing a phenomenal job. It's the kind of thing where the goals, it's got to happen sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so sweet when you score. I'm going to feel like a proud parent when Brandon Hagel scores.
I'm so excited for him. He's doing everything right. And there's no excuse of like, oh, I'm on the 4th line right now, or, oh, I'm, in this sort of checking position. He's been upfront about how you get any minutes and you use them. There's no wasted minutes, which is such a refreshing concept.
For a guy like him too, like he's playing with a lot to prove.
Yeah,
he was a late bloomer. I think he was drafted in his second opportunity to get drafted. Completely passed over the first and didn't go undrafted free agent. So he waited another year to get drafted. But there's one thing I forgot to even add to the Jeremy Colliton stuff, guys. Is it possible that Jeremy Colliton might win the Jack Adams this year?
I think he's all jokes aside, I think it's very realistic that he's at least top 3. You can't show me, and again, it's early, but if even if everything stays consistent, you can't show me another team where they have gone from one mindset and one area, and especially going into this year where we were completely written off. We had no goalie. Our defense was a bunch of kids. We lost our top 2 centers. We shouldn't be here. And yet everyone is saying, hey, you got to talk about the coaching. You got to talk about the voices in the room. Like, we're all in now. This is Jeremy's team. I think if by some wild world we
Don't
made the
you
playoffs,
dare
I
say-
think
Oh.
no.
Damn it, I'm bought back in.
Listen, I'm in. However,
Didn't
if
you
we
pick
did
that
make it,
man?
if we made it, I think there's no doubt in my mind he gets the Jack Adams. If we don't make it, I think that he's reasonably top 3. But you would have to see some other middling or struggling team that made the playoffs in spite of everything that would beat him, if that makes sense.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I think if it's kind of hard to name a coach Jack Adams if he doesn't make the playoffs. But under the Hawks circumstances, maybe because they're without their captain, they're without their young stud. And
You're without one of your alternate captains. You're without one of your main scorers that you had in Nylander. We started way behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves recognition right now. It's still, I mean, we're 20% through the season already, though.
I mean, yeah, we keep talking about how it's early. It's a shortened season.
Yeah, this is a good enough sample size of what this season could be. And right now, I was the biggest hater in the past, and now I might be leading the charge for Jeremy Colliton, Jack Adams trophy winner. So
We got to make you a shirt.
it's just it'd be the most indecisive shirt, like Jeremy, just a t-shirt that says Jeremy Colliton ? And you could ask me that day how I'm feeling about it, but I said it before the show. It's going to take a lot is going to have to go wrong for me to go back to my old ways on Jeremy Colliton. I think he's developed as a coach. And that's what I said. That's what I've been kind of preaching, back when he got the extension is I want to see development out of him. And by God, he's done it.
You should just create a second Twitter account that says Jeremy Colliton ? And then every day you just answer the question.
We saw a moment that really stuck out for me. Again, these games all blurred. I think it was one of the Carolina games where Strome scored a goal and he got back to the bench. He's sitting on the bench and they pan over and you see Jeremy with his hands on Strome's shoulders, like shaking him a little bit. And it's just like, you can see this smile. He's just like amped up. I have never seen Jeremy Colliton amped up.
Yeah, he never really shows emotion.
He's a very calm, shooter. Which is such an interesting, which I think hurt him in the eyes of Chicago fans because we had Quenneville would be grabbing himself, gesticulating all the time, with a scowl, which I love him to death. It's my favorite. But then Colliton came in, and not only was he young, but he was also very calm, very level-headed. He didn't get mad after games, but he also didn't get excited after good games. And Chicago is passionate.
We're passionate. We're a passionate fan base.
That is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it is. It's our greatest strength and our greatest weakness.
Yeah, for sure.
As of right now, we are a Team Jeremy Colliton side of the podcast here.
Yeah.
Jeremy Colliton, !
We can move on to the flash forward and the flashback for this week because, again, it's been another week of the NHL.
Can we just give a Brent Seabrook update, Jordan?
Yeah, we can get to that real quick.
Yeah.
If one of you guys wants to just give me a quick rundown really quick.
You know more about it than I do.
I'll just jump on in. Basically, the Chicago Sun-Times had an article. Ben Pope came out with an article talking about they were able to catch up with Stan Bowman on Brent Seabrook's situation. Long story short, there's no real timetable for Seabrook's return. Everyone's of course concerned about, his well-being and making sure that he's in the best place to not only succeed in hockey, but also just his overall health. The article made some really good points about how, Bowman talked about, look at some of these injuries he was playing through for years. He probably should have gotten them addressed years earlier, but he's a warrior. And I mean, that's what made Seabrook so good for us and such a strong presence on our blue line for so many years was he would battle through and he kept moving forward. And he, besides Taze, is the voice of the locker room. He's this energy that he brought every night. But basically he had healed from the surgeries over his 2 hips and the shoulder surgery he had gotten back out. He was good to go. And then he tweaked his back, and we don't know. There's not a lot of detail on what that means, whether he just like pinched something or if something's worse, but we do know that he's out and there is no foreseeable timetable for his return, which is, Seabrook gets a lot of shade from a lot of people, but he is still, I would still rather have him on this team than not have him on this team. He is such a presence. And I was really excited to see him come back with the injuries or come back from those injuries and healed up. And I guess he's been around practices. He's sat in on practices. He's been around the locker room. He's that same booming presence. But, I hope the best for Seabrook. He's a legend. We don't have those cups without him.
Yeah, it's crushing for being a Brent Seabrook guy. You want to see him out there. I kind of disagreed with the way the Blackhawks handled him in the past. But, rightfully, I know Colliton had his reasons because he wasn't really tied to him. But, yeah, you obviously always want to see Seven back out there. Like, he's a staple in Blackhawks history. It's 2-7, 88, 10, 19, and 50. So yeah, it's just tough to see a guy like that. He's probably going to go through he's probably just like devastated himself. He's like, I want to be out there.
Oh God, yeah. Nobody wants to be out there more than him.
Yeah, like he just wants to go out there and prove these guys wrong that were doubting him. And it should be a great. Like I said it weeks ago, but it's like having him out there to be a mentor for these young guys in that locker room and like those D-men that are struggling maybe need the advice from him. He would be very helpful. Like he's like a player coach basically with that group.
Yeah.
Well, he was a huge influence last year with Kirby Dach.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Dach's professionalism and the way that he prepared for games and just his mentality living with the Seabrooks was, I think that there's a night and day. He's not the player he is if he doesn't live with the Seabrooks for that year.
Can you imagine how gloomy that household is right now? It's like the boys are buzzing and us two are just hurt.
Yeah, like this, man, that's so frustrating.
Seabrook needs to sell that house. It's cursed or something. But yeah, hopefully hopefully we eventually get to see Seven this season. Kirby Dach, obviously, and Taze, I don't think we're going to see, but Brent Seabrook, we still are pushing for because, it's always great to see him healthy. And, when he plays well, it's always refreshing to see. So,
yep.
Well, see, Brent.
Yeah.
Well, now we'll move on to the flashback and the flash forward.
I feel like that was necessary to.
Yeah.
So last week the Wings played 3 games. On the 3rd, they had a 1-5 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. On the 5th, they had a 1-3 loss. On the 5th, they had a 1-3 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then on the 7th, they had a 4-1 win versus the Florida Panthers. The 1-5 loss versus Tampa. The Wings did not play good at all this game.
Not at all.
The Tampa Bay Lightning looked like the Tampa Bay Lightning that we've come to know and expect them to be. That was ugly.
It was very ugly. I remember they scored the first goal.
Mm-hmm.
And in our building, we're on the top floor out of a 3-4 level building, and there's no elevators, just stairs. So I'm like, all right, I got to go get the laundry in. The laundry's on the bottom floor. I walk downstairs, put the laundry in, come back, step. It's 3-0. I'm like, what the hell did I just miss? So it was not a pretty sight to walk in on just minutes after it being 1-0. We knew it was going to be ugly, Jordan. We said it was going to be ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting it to get that ugly that fast.
No. And again, Tampa is a dangerous team. Everybody knows this. There's a reason they won the cup last year, even without Steven Stamkos. And people are like, well, this year they're missing Nikita Kucherov. It's irrelevant. They're still the Tampa Bay Lightning without Nikita Kucherov.
They still have so much depth.
The game that I did like against Tampa, though, is the one that we lost 1-3. And in my mind, yes, we lost by 2 goals. One of them is an empty netter, and I know they count on the score sheet as goals, but
Yes.
in terms of actually like playing 5-at-5 and power play, I don't count those at goals because you get to halfway through the ice, it's basically a gimme unless like your stick flips wrong. I liked this game so much better. Detroit seemed to be in it more, whether it's skating hard for pucks, whether it's shutting down Tampa's offensive pressure. This was so much more of a complete game. And even though we lost, I was perfectly fine with this loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to beat the champs, especially with where we are right now in our rebuild. Maybe the team, got angry seeing Chicago doing so well that they were like, we gotta really kick it up a notch. We gotta start trying some more. And but yeah, the 3-1 was really 2-1 without that empty netter. Night and day difference between that and the first game against Tampa.
And I like Dylan Larkin's post-game comments on the actual play of the team afterwards. He said, the way that we played tonight is how we need to be playing every night.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved the kid since he got drafted.
Oh, for sure.
I love that leadership style of even when they're losing, he acknowledges that they played well and that they need to keep that consistency.
Yeah.
And they carried that over to the Panthers game. The Panthers game, they had like the one meltdown in their like own defensive zone where the Panthers had like 2 minutes of just pure offensive pressure at 5-on-5.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I thought like the game was going to crumble right then and there. Detroit got it out on like a really scrappy chip in, and then they just ran away with that game.
Yes, they did. It felt so good to watch.
And again, though, it's an effort thing. The whole team was skating. I mean, Givani Smith was skating. Dylan Larkin was skating. Fabbri and Zadina were skating hard. Nemestikov was skating hard. The defense was doing a good job of just stopping puck movement through the neutral zone.
Mm-hmm.
They played a complete game against, the Florida Panthers, and the Panthers are not some powerhouse team, but they're not a bad team. They're not a bad team by any means. They're not a rebuilder.
They had 33 shots on Grice, and he saved 32 of them, something like that, I think. So yeah, they were peppering him with shots.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the same time, Detroit was peppering Florida with shots. I mean, I think the shot differential was only like 3 or 4 shots total.
Yeah,
and just Detroit seemed to actually work. They kept that consistency from the game versus Tampa, and even though we only had 1 win on this week, I'm happy with the way that this week panned out, even though we only took 1 win away from it.
Yeah, I mean, in our flash forward last week, I didn't pick any wins because I was so let down from the week prior. So, it's a welcome surprise, as, Nick would say, little baby victories. That's a big victory for me right there.
Mm-hmm.
In my defense, I did say 1 win.
You did?
One. I said I'm not high on them, but they're going to get 1.
You did?
No, I mean, it was easy to assume, history repeats itself, and Tampa's just going to be Tampa. So, it's good to see in that second game, though. It's a tough battle, and like you said, essentially a 1-goal game that with an empty netter. So,
do we have to call them Champa Bay now?
No.
I
reject that. I reject that whole premise.
Yeah,
just making sure. Just making sure.
No, that doesn't even sound right. Champa Bay.
It sounds like a terrible food dish you would get at some dive bar. Like, hey, you gonna get the Champa? Yeah, I'm gonna get the Champa.
Well, get the double Champa.
Sounds disgusting.
Hey, you throw some sport peppers on it, it's gonna be okay.
Some giardiniera.
Speaking of things that are not disgusting, though, the Chicago Blackhawks this week.
Buddy!
Hey, I just want to go on record. Somebody, I think, projected taking 3 points or 3 out of 4 points for the Canes, and I do believe it was me.
And you know what? I will eat crow. I thought that you guys were going to get killed by Dallas, and you did not.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I thought we were going to get roughed up by Dallas for sure, but we took 3 out of 4 points in both of those series.
Mm-hmm.
This is real. Like, this is a testament to you talked about Zadina not missing a beat coming back from COVID. Alex DeBrincat coming back from COVID to start the Carolina series, him and Bogdanov, and coming back in. DeBrincat did not miss a beat. He's got, 4 goals in 4 games since he's been back, along with a decent couple of apples. Like he's not just playing offensive. He's, his play without the puck has been nonstop. This is a new gear for DeBrincat that we're seeing right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, does COVID does it just bring out like a superb athlete after it happens? Is that like the side effect? Because if that's the case, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna jinx myself, but I'm gonna go get COVID. Maybe I could go make a couple $1 million.
I have to think that these are the exceptions to the rule.
It's like, hey, it's not all that bad. You become a stud athlete afterwards,
or you die.
Yeah.
So
I'll take the 50-50 chance.
Boy, I thought I was a gambler.
You lose your sense of taste and smell, but you can throw a football 70 yards.
Sign me up.
Steering it back.
I can go
we also got to see Lankinen's first real adversity since he came, 3-goal, that Carolina game, that was hard. I mean, that was the first we'd faced a real contending team in a long time.
Yep.
And the fact that he kept his poise and he wasn't, freaking out. He wasn't, melting down. We never had a meltdown in those Carolina. We didn't have a meltdown in any of those games, but especially in that Carolina game, I'm blown away by the way that he kept his composure and the way that the team rallied to get it to overtime. I'm very impressed with this team's no quit mentality.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on his head. I have that in one of my notes. Patrick Kane at the end of the first period, there was like 16 seconds left. And he forechecked, got the puck, and sniped away. And, the no quit mentality is there. Like you said, though, it was, Lankinen, it was a tough being down 2-0. It's like, oh, here we go. Are we going to see the breakdown? And no, he bounced right back. He kept the team in it. He made some huge saves. I would say he stole a point because at the end of the third, it was just everything was just being thrown at him. High danger scoring, high danger chance after high danger chance. So the tic-tac-toe goal on the power play with Suter and Kershaw. Holy hell was that?
It's a beaut, and it's good to see the rookies producing and making active plays like that.
That was unreal. I mean, from Kubes to Suter to Kershaw, it was just quick, and it was like, what? The power play is buzzing still. It's crazy to me, but
it's buzzing, and it's also the fact that we're rolling 2 actual power play units. It's not like we've loaded up the first unit and the second unit's just out there to kill time. We're getting consistent effort from both units, and I can't think of the last time that we had that.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. Like usually it's just one unit out there for a minute and 30 seconds.
Whatever Patrick Kane's on, you just load it up and go.
You throw it, and then you throw out the second unit when your guys get tired and there's 27 seconds left on the power play. Like, oh, hopefully you guys can do something here.
There you go.
But Beaudin, this was Beaudin's big game.
Yeah,
he was quarterbacking on the power play 2 unit, which that was one of his strengths going into his draft year, is he could power play a quarterback a power play. If he could power play a quarterback, he should manage the Bears. But sorry. But no, you've seen him a lot. I think he played over 20 minutes in that game, which is like, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of trust out of Colliton, and I mean, he looked good. A lot of time in overtime, a lot of time on the power play. He's playing in big minutes, and that's what we want to see. And he's taking advantage of those opportunities, and he's becoming a player out of it. So, love to see that out of Nick Beaudin.
We can also we'll do our start of the week segment now as well. We started with the Red Wings talking about, this past week that was. If I'm going to choose a star of the week for the Red Wings, I got to say Givani Smith. the Gordie Howe hat trick was fun, but not even the Gordie Howe hat trick, just the fact that the team needed somebody to step up in like a power forward situation. Givani Smith stepped up. He played hard, skated hard, and was contributing all the time when he was on the ice. And on top of that, he's a young guy who most people are expecting him to pan out as a third liner.
Mm-hmm.
But he's playing with a guy like Dylan Larkin, and he looks like he just hangs with him.
Yep.
I liked him a lot this week.
Yeah, you and I think alike, because Givani Smith is mine as well. I mean, every time we've seen him get called up, we see him. And you know how we said, like, some players are invisible, not in a good way, not in a bad way. When we're seeing him in that good way. He is stepping up. He's back checking. He's getting himself in the middle of things. He had, a couple weeks ago, that beautiful feed to Dylan Larkin on a breakaway. Gordie Howe hat trick. I always love seeing one of those puppies because I like it sometimes better than a regular hat trick, just because you get to see a fight. Fights are fun to watch. But you said, well, most people see him panning out as a third line. That's not bad if we're a deep team like a Tampa Bay.
Oh, God,
like Tampa Bay's third line can play in most teams' first lines. Like that's how good they are with their depth. And like I said before, if we can reignite a former line that I mentioned earlier, the Draper Maltby, clear line, with him and some others, I'm all for it. We need that grit in this team. That's something that we've been missing. We need the grit. We need to fight for the puck, not just with our sticks, but with our checks and our fists. The days are gone where we miss guys like Barry McCarty, Dallas Drake, players like that are willing to, hit you and be able to still score. And Givani Smith, to me, resembles that mold, and that's something this city of Detroit, has been missing.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, Blashill took a chance on putting him with Dylan Larkin. If you look at the team that Detroit has, you don't typically slot Smith into that position, just again because of how new he is to the league. I mean, he had a couple of games last season, but he wasn't a full-timer last season. Nope. Detroit threw him right with Larkin, and he's grabbed that opportunity by the horns. He looks like he belongs with him, and he's not throwing away that chance.
No, and that was what was funny. Like when the Red Wings released their lines for the night on Twitter, I saw that line and I was like, is that Givani Smith first line? Okay, let's see what you can do. And he did not disappoint.
Mm-mm. Tim and Nick, what were your guys' Hawks star for the week?
There were a couple guys that I could go with. I don't typically go with this one just because it's almost like an obvious thing, but my star of the week is going to be Patrick Kane. He was involved everywhere. He had a hand in everything that was going on. This week, it's so hard because every week Kane is a superstar. He could be the first star of the week every week, but really he had a hand in everything that went down this past week. Yeah. He's carrying this team on his back, and I think that he is still finding ways to grow as a player, even already being the elite franchise player that he is. So yeah, I got to go with Kane this week.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. He's just, adding more to his skill set. You see him more of a two-way player. As chalk as it is, like this week especially, he was NHL's second star of the week, so he's got to be the Blackhawks' first star of the week for us. Chalk pick, but Kaner does everything right, and especially a week like this against three great games against two great teams.
Mm-hmm.
Got to give it to Patrick Kane, and keeping this motor running in the city of Chicago.
Yeah,
I like how both sides pick the same player. Love it.
Some weeks that it's just obvious.
Yeah, It's just too obvious to even kind of go against it. It's boring pitching. Like, believe me, I love Patrick Kane, but it's boring picking him just because he's like the perfect human for us. So
right, I haven't picked him yet. This is the first time that I've picked, because it's like I don't want to pick Kane. That's such an easy way out. But there's no There's no denying it this week.
I can't remember Nick ever picking him either in the past. I mean, you might have, but I don't remember.
I have. There's times in the past that it's like, well, I have to go with Patrick Kane because
We begrudgingly like, yeah, he was that
I
good.
I had to go with that great hockey player.
All
again.
right, it's
God.
best
It's the first time
American
this
player
year.
in history.
This might be the first time this year. I don't think I've said Kevin Lincoln, so that's weird.
There it is. There it is.
I put him on the
Shit.
Reddit page. I just put Lankinen again.
No, not this week.
Next week.
He actually faced adversity this week, so
And Malcolm Subban had a phenomenal game against Dallas.
yeah.
He had
Yeah, he
that one goal. He should have had it in the glove hand. I that's a tough one, but at the end of the day, your goaltender let in one goal on like 30-something shots. You can't be mad at that.
No.
And even he's like, yeah, I should have cupped that a little bit
Should have
more.
had a shutout,
Like,
but
Oops, I screwed myself up. But he kept us in that game.
yeah, and
He was phenomenal.
It also didn't get to him.
Yeah.
That one goal could really rattle you, but it didn't. So yeah, shout out to Malcolm Subban.
He
Gotta
made
show love to the other goalies here. So
absolutely. He made a remarkable toe save on how do you pronounce it? Gurnev?
Gurinov.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Remarkable toe save on something from him, like at point blank. I'm excited.
Grice had one against Tampa. Was it the 5-1 game, Jordan, where like they should have had it and he just sprawled his leg out and stopped it?
Oh, you're talking about where the guy tried doing like the not the wraparound, but the like the side deke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. Then he had like was it the stick save that he had on the other one? That was kind of good.
I love him. Like, I'm so happy we signed him.
Yeah.
I've liked Thomas Grice. I've liked Thomas Grice since Detroit's picked him up. We talked about it in the offseason. Detroit could have done a lot worse this year for goaltending tandems.
Oh yeah.
Goaltending's not the reason Detroit's losing games this season. Plain and
No,
simple, it's
Not at
not.
all. They're both playing on their heads in a lot of games.
We can move up to this upcoming week now because we've got a couple of games coming up, and it's like a half rivalry week because like we're playing half the series this week.
And
Oh
then
yeah.
the second half the next week.
So we started with the Wings schedule. We'll just touch on theirs again for the flash forward. The Wings are going to play against the Panthers again. They're going to play against the Nashville Predators twice, and then they're going to play against the Chicago Blackhawks on next Monday. So, I mean, the game's going to start before we're recording the show, so I'm counting that as like a game.
Let's discuss this real quick so they know what's gonna go on here. Is that gonna be a late recording night?
I mean, I'm planning on having like a watch party at my house, so I'm planning on watching the game.
Yeah, so I mean, if
Why don't
you
we
guys...
record the next? We could record the next day.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Tuesday.
Oh wait, no, Jordan. We'll figure that out. All right. Anyways,
We'll get that straightened out.
Yeah. Regardless, we're gonna talk about the preview of this. So yeah.
So, David, the game versus the Panthers, they came out. I mean, aside from that weird like 2-minute breakdown where it looked like Detroit was going to fall apart, I liked what we saw against the Panthers. I think that they can, if they stick, they can do that again versus the Panthers if they keep bringing that compete level.
Yep, I agree. I think we can beat the Panthers too.
I mean, I don't know if it'll be another 4-1 blowout, but I do think that Detroit can hang with teams like the Panthers when they're actually competing hard.
I agree. I think it won't be that far spread out. I think it's going to be a 3-2 game this time. Where we somehow squeak out a win. They're making me feel confident after that win. So, confidence is what always, ends up kicking you in the butt. But we'll see if they don't do it to me.
They're going to play the Nashville Predators twice. This one, I don't know. Like, the Predators are not the Predators of a couple of years ago where they were just stacked. They're not. But they're still not terrible. I would say they're on par with a team like the Florida Panthers, where if they get hot, they can get really hot. Otherwise, they're just like a middle of the road type team. I mean, who is it? They've lost PK Subban. They picked up Matt Duchene, right? Last season.
Yep.
Pekarine's still playing in goal for them. They still have guys like Juicy Saros. The D-core is still competent. I think if Detroit's going to beat Nashville here, they've got to just either clog them up and force them to play in the neutral zone where a guy like Duchesne or like Roman Yossi or somebody cannot take advantage of Detroit's weak defense group. Or they've just got to start hammering pucks every which way and just force the goaltender to immediately miss one. That's the only way I think we take the Nashville games.
I am going to come back down to reality and think we just get a point out of it. I think we steal out in overtime in one of those games, and Nashville beats us in the other.
Okay. And then we'll touch on the Hawks game in just a minute. Looking at the Hawks schedule for this week, you guys are going to be playing against the Carolina, or not, you played Carolina. So you guys are going to be playing against Dallas again.
Yep, we got another Dallas game.
There you go.
2 games versus Columbus, and then the game versus us. What are your guys' opinions on the Dallas game?
I don't see why we don't at least take it to overtime. I mean, you know my thoughts on Dallas, frankly.
What did they do to you there?
Man, it's not even their fault. I just don't like the makeup of their team. I don't think it's a team that is sustainably built to win games.
You don't want the glow stick green jersey?
I'm one of the oddballs that actually loves
I actually
the
do
retro reverse, throwback jersey.
I do too.
It's so obnoxious and it's right up my alley. It's my kind of fashion. I don't see realistically why. I mean, we did it once. We could at least take this to overtime.
Why not?
I don't know. I think that's doable. I think that we win one of the games in Columbus. I'm buzzing right now on the Hawks. Realistically, there's no game anymore that I don't believe we can hang in, which is so dangerous. I'm gonna get hurt.
You're buzzing on the Hawks. Would you say you're an alcoholic?
Boy, I saw the moment in your head where you're like, what pieces do I have to work with? This is I think you did the best with what you had.
I mean, props to you. Just like, you seen the little hamster going in your head. It's like,
boy, you're an alcohol beast.
Alcoholics. Boys.
He's gonna sit there gonna win everything, aren't you?
No, come on. No, I can't.
All in, baby.
I can't mush it. I can't mush it. I mean, OT seems to be the theme of this season, so I think we're gonna go to overtime against Dallas. Maybe, probably. I think that one we lose. I don't think Dallas looked as great as they normally do.
Yeah.
Against us game 1. Maybe they fix it. If not, I mean, more power to us. But I think an OT loss against Dallas. Columbus is interesting. Last time we didn't get to that trade happened with Dubois and Laine right before we played them, and now they have Laine and Rosovic there. So I'm intrigued. I don't think Laine is like a game breaker. He can be when he's all put together, but right now he's not. I think it's very realistic that these Hawks, the way they're playing, we're at least splitting. we'll split that series, and yeah, I mean, I'm confident. I think it's going to be a tough battle all week. I don't think they're going to get blown out by Columbus if they lose. I don't think they're going to get blown out by Dallas. And I say we take at least one in Columbus. I'm 50-50 on tomorrow against Dallas. And I guess that leaves us to Detroit.
All right. So this is a rivalry. At the half of the series is going to be a rivalry week because – again, I'm counting it because it's going to be a game that's played before we record, or at least it starts before we record.
Yep.
So last time the two teams met, Chicago took both of them, and they took both of them pretty handedly. Now, I'm not going to make excuses for the Hawks or for the Wings because I'm not going to do that. Detroit was not fully healthy, though. That is one caveat I want to add.
We did not have Fabbri. We did not have Zadina.
And we didn't have Taser Doc, but
and we had Mantha.
Yeah, but
we had Mantha.
But isn't like in that game though? Did we really have Mantha, or did the Hawks have Mantha?
That was the joke.
I don't think anyone had Mantha. He's in his own world.
We didn't have Givani Smith playing either.
Nope, we didn't have him playing. Unfortunately, though, the Wings are missing Luke Glendening, I believe, right now because of the hit that happened last game. Where
Hopefully
he
not
got-
too serious.
Yeah, hopefully that's
Yeah.
not serious. I think these games are going to be a lot closer than the games last time. Detroit's healthier again.
Yep.
Detroit basically got their second line back. That's basically how I'm going to put these games. Detroit got their second line back.
Yep.
These ones I think are closer than the losses, the losses that they had with Chicago last series.
For sure.
So, are you saying a win or
It
a
wouldn't be
loss on
it wouldn't be
Monday?
a rivalry if I wasn't going to pick the Red Wings beating the Blackhawks. So I'm picking Red Wings, Blackhawks, baby.
All right, let's pick this thing up then.
All right.
How are you gonna say that the Red Wings are gonna beat their own co-owner in Kevin Lankinen on Monday? You know we're gonna see Lankinen with the way he shut him down last week or 2 weeks ago. There's no way the Red Wings win this game. I'm sorry.
Zadina, baby.
Monday.
No
I mean,
Z.
I agree though, Jordan. I think it's gonna be close. You know, you got two big pieces back, and we might have the Sam Gagne experience coming up. We don't know. I don't know where the status is I'm at. I'm just excited and scared and petrified. Just a lot of feelings.
Blashill walks out of the locker room.
Break in case of emergency.
Gagne just skates out.
You hear Stone Cold's theme music. You hear the.
My God, it's Gagne with the steel chair.
No, yeah. So I think it's gonna be close here. I think it's gonna be close. At least Monday's game is gonna be close. We're gonna get into next week's game officially, probably next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But Monday it's gonna be a close one. It's in Detroit, so there's really no home ice advantage anymore. But yeah, it's gonna be
True.
It's gonna be close, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's the juices always get going when it's rivalry, when it's Hawks Wings, no matter whether it's this year, it's 7 times a year, or seasons like last season or many year before that, 2 times a year. So thrilled to see the Red Wings back on the schedule, and yeah, can't wait till Monday.
So obviously it's rivalry week. Tim and Nick, what are you, like, if you were going to say like the Hawks' keys to victory are going to be against the Wings, what would you say is going to be like the thing that Chicago needs to capitalize in order to take these games?
I mean, for me, I think it's definitely going to be take advantage of line combinations and line matching. I think that if we, take advantage of your third and fourth lines, I think that right now, because all of our lines are sort of mixed with like the way they're doing ice time and the way they're doing matchups and whatnot, I think we can get a lot of advantageous matchups. I also I think that making sure that we continue that strong play in our end that gets the puck out. I think if we can control the neutral zone, that we're going to drive play. We're going to keep play in the offensive zone. So in your end, my big concern is always if things start to collapse. I don't think I'm not as worried about Detroit as I am with miscommunications with the Hawks still. But yeah, I think if we take advantage of the line matchups and control the neutral zone, I don't have a lot of concerns. And I say that knowing that pride will bite me. I always worry about that, but that's what I would focus on.
You don't have to worry about putting us on the power play because that's pretty much non-existent.
David, I was gonna say a joke. I was gonna say, well, the way the last games went, take a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
I think honestly though, the Blackhawks, it's gonna be tough. It's it's a completely different team that we're seeing basically this time around. I think you have to take advantage with your special teams. Like it's whoever's gonna, if we score 1 or 2 goals on the power play that night, I think that's the difference in the game.
Yep.
I think smart special teams and killing penalties and taking advantage of the power plays that the Wings give you. That's key to the game, and I think that's the way we win.
Okay.
What about
How about you guys? Yeah, over in the Detroit side.
If I was going to say something that Detroit really needs to take advantage of this game, it's I mean, it's cliche, but Detroit does need to capitalize on their power play. They've got to get some confidence going when they're on it, and they need to get on the board early with like a goal or two. They're playing against a really young Chicago team. You got to shake confidence early because that's how you get players to make mistakes. When you're playing from behind, you take risks that you shouldn't be taking. You make decisions you shouldn't be making. If Detroit can get 2 quick ones or get like just a quick power play goal to boost confidence, I think that's what's got to happen.
I agree with you on the power play front. We need to get that going where it should be. But touch on Blash a little bit. We gave him crap for it. His whole ideology of 60 minutes of hell. That's how the Blackhawks have been playing this season. They've been using Blashill's ideology of 60 minutes of hell, give their opponents just hell the entire game. And we have to be able to do that. That's our motto. That's the motto he gave us. That's what we have to live up to in order to beat Chicago.
But yeah, I think this one's going to be a close game. I don't see it being a blowout like the last 2 games where, again, Detroit's a little bit healthier now and has a second line. But you guys have also sort of found your groove. So, again, that's sort of something that they didn't have when we first played because we played early this season.
How Chicago got its groove back.
Again.
The Emperor's New Groove. Can I just say how much fun I have being able to watch the Hawks this year? Like, it's been fun. Like, I'm sure you guys are kind of the same way. Like, now that you guys got your lineup complete and like you got your young guys back and like Givani Smith's going, it's fun to to see the development night after night in these young guys, and it's been just a treasure. And for a season, and I always keep saying it, a season that was supposed to be a lost cause, it's been a blast.
It's been the best season in years for us to watch. Yeah,
it is fun to watch. What sucks is living in the DC area. The only games they get televised are the ones we get the crap kicked out of us by Tampa. But I find games other ways to watch them, which have been fun to watch. Seeing the guys play, especially Givani Smith. Like, love the guy.
That's moral of the story. There is baby victories.
Yes,
baby victories. Yep.
We said it at the start of the season, it's going to be a lot of 2-goal games, not like 5-goal games like we had last season. And
I'll take them.
That's sort of what we're seeing, even from both clubs on their losses. It's a lot more 2-goal games, not blowouts.
Well, unless we play Tampa.
Yeah, but that's kind of expected. It's Tampa.
Yeah.
Give them a night off.
Unfortunately, this week we didn't have any fan mail to touch on, except for just one comment on the Reddit thread. Let me just pull it up here really quick.
Holy moly, goalie, we miss you. Come back to us.
Yes, send us your questions. It's fun to have Hunger Games.
Or Rick
He must not have liked our answer to that week.
He's like, mother.
Done with these guys.
Don't they understand the real message about Hunger Games? It's about unity and love.
While you're finding the comment, we forgot to touch on it last week. I mentioned his name already, but last week, the day after we recorded, was the 8 or 9 year anniversary of the Sam Gagner 8-point game against the Hawks. So he knows 'tis the season. So
tis the season for Gagner.
He's coming.
His life.
Right. So the comment that I have on Reddit is it comes from I'm probably gonna butcher this username.
It's all right. I do it all the time.
Kakaroto 007.
007, yeah.
Says he's gonna definitely check out the podcast. Thanks for sharing it. No, thank you for listening to the podcast and checking it out.
That's what I wrote.
We say this every week. This is a fan cast. It's by fans for fans. There's no corporate sponsorship. There's nobody telling us what we can and can't say. This is a bunch of guys gathering around on a Zoom call and just sort of talking about these teams that we enjoy watching. So thank you guys for enjoying it with us.
Yeah, as always.
I'm trying to get that Skechers deal. Like if Tony Romo can get a Skechers deal, I can get us a Skechers deal. That's all I'm saying. So just wait.
Bauer, come in.
Now, I did promise a surprise on Facebook, so I'm gonna deliver. So after
chocolate milk.
No, not yet. That's after the skate. That way, like players aren't skating up and down the ice, just like throwing up between checks.
No. If my team's playing bad, they're drinking chocolate milk before practice, and they're gonna clean up the ice afterwards.
You're a monster.
So me and Nick got to talking about this after the podcast last night, so I'm going to share it with everybody. Moving forward, YouTube's been a platform that we've really wanted to like put content on. It's easy to listen to a show every week, or even watch it if like YouTube's your content platform of getting stuff out. But there are a lot of people out there who watch hockey and may not necessarily understand what's going on the ice, or how teams are formed, or all of this stuff about the game. It's really hard to get into the game of hockey and just sort of sit down and understand what's going on. It's one of the most fluid sports in the world, just because whistles don't always happen, pretty frequently. It's not football where it's start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah, hockey and soccer, baby.
It goes forever. And so an idea that me and Nick were kind of floating around is, what if we just made like a YouTube series where we introduced people to how the rules of hockey work, how team construction works, how power plays and penalty kills set up? That's an idea that we've been floating around, and we're going to have it happen. It's going to be a series that we're going to do on YouTube, basically explaining the game, everything from, again, roster construction to the zones on the ice, to how plays develop, how they deconstruct, how power plays and penalty kills are structured, how specific decisions from players get made. It's a series that we're going to be doing on YouTube. We'll have updates with it when we get a little bit more information on when we can actually start it. Some of the tools that we're going to be using are in the process of getting ordered, but kind of a little teaser for you guys. Just, it's going to be content that you guys can enjoy, and we hope that you guys like it, or that you share it with other people. Hockey is a fantastic sport to get into. It's a fun sport when you really understand what's going on. And it's sort of going to be just a learning tool for people who may not have experience with the sport to get into it and really understand what they're looking at when they tune on a game. So that's something that's going to be happening moving forward.
The Stick Blade Playbook.
Yeah, I mean, we're not just four dummies sitting here talking, giving our fun takes and whatnot, or saying sorry to coaches we may have hated in the past. No, yeah, I'm excited for this little. I'm excited for this little series. I think it's gonna be, kind of like hockey for, like the For Dummies book. Like Jordan's gonna break it down for you. If if you want a specific play or from a game, that's a way to reach out to us. Jordan could break it down, and or one of us, whatever we want to do. But yeah, I'm excited. It's a new. We're gonna try to pump out as much content as we can for those those loyal listeners that we have. So yeah, Jordan, I'm glad you came up with this idea. It's gonna be fun, something new rather than just one night a week sitting down. We have more pumping out there.
Mm-hmm. And again, there's no timetable on this, unfortunately, because again, stuff's still getting ordered for the show. I mean, I've got whiteboards, I've got cameras, I've got some supplies like markers and stuff I got to pick up, making sure I can make everything accessible and visible, that it's easy to read. So it's a project in the making, but it is happening.
I would also like to just chime in with something I'd love for us to do, is to just do like a hockey rewind, where we watch like a classic game, like a watch along, and we talk about the game as it's going. Okay. Like we watch, game 6 of the 2008 Cup where the Wings won, or we watch, when you guys won one of your cups, we watch the Darren Helm dodging every hit on a penalty kill, keeping the puck away from you guys, like, and just breaking it down, and like hockey rewind. That would be like something fun I'd love to do too.
Yeah, I love it. Specific, just a random one that comes to mind. Game 7 of
you son of
the 2013 conference semi.
Yeah. All right.
I wish. Oh man, yeah. I mean, I wish like a game like that would happen now, because my reaction of however old I was back then, 8 years ago.
What, you're 7?
16. Yeah, 7. Come on. No, yeah, but I also think like if we could find a way to have a live stream, we're on a Zoom call, we're all watching the game. We could, like, it wouldn't have to be on the podcast, just like a YouTube live.
Look at that. Boom, gears going. We just
There's
got
a lot of content options we can do.
We got the playbook with Jordan. We've got hockey rewind where we watch old games. Let's just grow. Let's grow, baby.
Boys, why don't we let's just all go rent a house somewhere, and we won't get sick of each other. We'll just do it all together.
We'll just do like a Spit and Chiclet style show. Just everybody
get
quits
an
their
RV
job
and just head west.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that for a minute, because that is something that the podcast is going to be doing, and I kind of wanted to bring it to everybody's attention because it's something I've been thinking about for a while, but I decided, you know what, screw it. Whiteboards aren't expensive. Markers aren't expensive. Cameras aren't really that expensive unless you start getting the studio quality stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there just so you guys know what's coming down the pipeline.
Something to think about.
But really, that's it. That's it for our show this week. As always, again, we appreciate you guys tuning into the show, giving us your eyes or ears. If you liked what you heard, there are plenty of ways to either follow or get in touch with the show. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on SoundCloud. You can find us on Twitter. You can get us the old email at stickbladepodcast@gmail.com. The Twitter handle is at stickbladepod. Facebook, you can find us there. Just type in the Stickblade Podcast. YouTube, the same deal. Just type in the Stickblade Podcast. SoundCloud, iTunes. We're all sorts of places.
They're all linked on the Reddit page too, people.
So however you like to ingest the podcast, we got you covered. Feel free to reach out to the show with your questions, your topics, your feedback for the show, because it's all for you guys. For your host for tonight, Jordan Linscott, and for my co-hosts, Tim Stompanato, David Barnhouse, and Nick LePage, this has been another edition of the Stickblade Podcast. You guys have a good week. You guys take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe amid this crazy world that we're still living in. And just have a good week. We'll see you guys later.
Go Hawks.
Go Wings.